In this video, we will be talking about HRWorkz's timekeeping features and capabilities. Being the all-in-one payroll and timekeeping software, HRWorkz has features for both timekeeping as well as in leave management. With this, all of your employees' attendance and leaves are integrated and within reach. Most ideal for businessmen who consider expanding by branch and employees. Like John. He's a businessman, and he's also looking forward to HRWorkz as a software of choice. But he has a few questions in mind just like you. Let's listen in.
Our business is slowly expanding in both branches and employees, but we still rely on manual login for timekeeping, and we don't want that anymore. Can HRWorkz help me make sure that my employees' time records are accurate?
HRWorkz has two options for time input: biometrics and keyboard entry. Considered the industry standard, biometrics ensures the authenticity of an employee's input, like fingerprint for example, making it difficult to manipulate. But for those who are on a budget, HRWorkz can also accommodate keyboard entry, where each employee is assigned to enter a predetermined code set by the HR department. The employee must key in this code to pin their attendance upon entry. To complement the keyboard entry, HRWorkz's timekeeping software can also take a photo of the person logging in, serving as an additional layer of security to make sure the time in and the ID code really belongs to the person actually logging in. Let us show you how it's done. This is the HRWorkz's login interface. To select your method, click and select Settings, and log in to gain access. Select your input device. Let's do biometrics first. Disable the camera and click Update. Voila! Your system can now use biometrics. Let's try to log in using a fingerprint. There! Our employee has logged in. Let's now go back to Settings and set the input method to Keyboard and enable the camera for the image capture feature. Let's try to log in. Type your employee code and click Log. Once set, a window will appear for your image capture. When your employee is ready, click Capture. Click Confirm Login to key in your image to the system. There, we've timed in via biometrics and keyboard. Now let's try to log out using the same methods. To change from in to out, click on Change Mode just below the settings icon. Now we can now key in our details and be recorded for our timeout. For biometrics and keyboard entry. That's it!
Almost all biometric timekeeping systems on the market are not automatic. The data captured on the device still needs to be transferred and interpreted manually before payroll cutoff. Is HRWorkz the same?
The good news is, we're not. There's no need to interpret or calculate all these data by hand, for it has already been stored and computed by HRWorkz. Let's open the admin portal and look at the dashboard. As of the moment, there are 0 employees present today. This doesn't mean that no one reported to work, but rather the data instituted for the day hasn't synced in the system yet. Let's open HRWorkz's timekeeping module. And keeping in mind the current time and date, let's simulate our employee Carmen's time in to the system. There, she's timed in. But going back to the dashboard, you will see that her record hasn't reflected yet. It's okay since HRWorkz has options on how frequent you want the system connects to the internet for data syncing processes. Look at the lower left side of the module. This will notify you of the next data sync, if it is currently updating your data, and if it has uploaded successfully. Let's go back to the dashboard and see if it's already uploaded. There! To see if it's really Carmen's, go to Timekeeping and click Daily Time Record. Select the current payroll period and the branch where Carmen works. Lastly, click on Filter. There! Carmen's time input is now on the system, along with her exact timing details. The same process goes when you need to time out. Don't forget to change the input mode from in to out, or else the system will not recognize it. Let's input using keyboard. And you're out. Depending on your settings, data sync will follow afterwards.
Some of our branches only have limited internet connection, especially those in the far-flung areas. Can HRWorkz timekeeping software operate even if offline?
Yes! One of HRWorkz's unique features is that it doesn't rely entirely on the internet, that it can even operate even if the branch isn't connected. Let us show you how it's done. First, let's disconnect from the internet. Click Settings and click Upload Data. Even if the system is offline, you can still do attendance inputs until such time you go back online. Speaking of which, let's enable the internet once again. Beforehand, we've pinned our employee Raymond's time in earlier and will now sync his data by clicking on Upload Data. Let's now refresh our dashboard, and now our new entry has been reflected in your system.
Our payroll master is having a hard time encoding and gathering employee time cards, especially if there are discrepancies. This takes both time and effort to input and correct these differences. And what's worse is, we're doing it twice a month. Can HRWorkz eliminate these inconveniences?
With HRWorkz, strict timekeeping measures are followed. This makes your timekeeping data free from any redundancies. This means that the employee cannot clock out without clocking in first, and cannot clock in without clocking out first. If we try to time out without timing in, HRWorkz will not credit your entry since, well, you didn't time it at all. And the input mode that the system recognizes is set to out. Let's change that into in, and we'll log in. If we log in one more time, the system will not credit your time in, saying in a new window that you have already timed in an earlier instance.
Our business is composed of both usual 8-hour shifts, employees who are on call and/or fillers intended for our branches. Can HRWorkz include them in the system?
HRWorkz is flexible enough to include not only regular shifts in our database, but also employees who have broken, irregular, and even multiple time shifts. Let's open Shift Schedule under the Master Files tab. This will display all the shifts that your business caters. Let's create a new schedule by clicking on Add Shift Schedule. Key in the name of the shift, from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. with a 1-hour break. To properly input this, you need to insert it by partition. To distinguish each partition, let's enter the first half of the shift, from 7 a.m. until 12 noon. Click Work, and then click the plus icon. After which, let's add the 1-hour break time at noon. Set the time to break time, and click the plus icon. And lastly, the other half of the work shift from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Set it to work and click the plus icon to confirm. Now that your shift parameters are now set, click the Save button. Let's add this as Carmen's schedule. Let's look her profile under Employee Records. And click on Schedule Details so that we can put the work hours she must render, her work shift that we just made, as well as her rest days. Once set, click on Update. You can also set here if your employees will be on flexible schedule, their payment mode, and rundown. HRWorkz can also detect, identify, and process employees with broken time shifts. Let's now demonstrate how HRWorkz process broken time-ins. Let's key in behalf of Carmen at around 7 in the morning. And then let's fast forward a bit and time out at 12 noon, just in time for lunch. Notice that the system did not recognize her login since the system's mode is set to in. Let's change that into out and try it once again. There! Carmen has logged out for the lunch break. Now that lunch is over, let's forward to an hour and time in at 1 in the afternoon, just in time for afternoon activities. Again, we are in the wrong mode, so her log isn't accepted by the system. Let's change that again to in and try again. There! All done! And lastly, when the workday is done, it's time to time out at 4 p.m. Let's now change the mode to out and key in our employee code. There! Nice and easy. Employees with broken time shifts like Carmen are obliged to time in and time out twice since they are registered on separate working hours for morning and the afternoon.
How rigid or flexible is HRWorkz's timekeeping rules?
HRWorkz is both rigid and flexible in setting timekeeping rules. Rigid in giving accurate, real-time applications on certain rules, and also flexible enough in giving employees and managers as well the freedom to apply for these rules on their behalf. For this question, we are referring to these rules as employee overtime, leaves, failed time in or time out, among others. Let us show you one by one what we're talking about.
Since calculations of wage and salaries are done by the system, can an employee claim overtime by clocking in and leaving later than his or her prescribed rate?
This is where our online approval setup comes in handy. With this, employee will not just rely solely on the time spent beyond the employee's intended hours. Employees should apply it first and have it approved by their superior and department heads before the system could actually credit it. This translates to a more cost-effective management of both time and resources in the workplace. To show you this, let's go to Applications and click on Overtime. Select Apply. Set the date you intend to render overtime and set the time range, usually beginning at the end time of the employee. Indicate the purpose of your overtime and click Save. Wait for a few moments and it's set. To check if it's credited into the admin system, let's check at the admin portal. Go to Timekeeping, go to Overtime, and from there, we see our employee's application. Since her application is still pending, let's approve it. Click on her entry on the list and click Approve. Let's go back to Carmen's portal and see if her application has been approved. Select Filter, and there, it's now approved.
There are times where my employees would schedule a leave verbally, and as time goes, both of us forgot about it. In turn, this would result to unintentional deductions from their records. How does HRWorkz handle this?
To eliminate this from happening, HRWorkz made leave applications easier than ever. The employee can file for leave using his or her employee portal. Also, the employee's manager can also file for leave on his or her behalf. To apply for leave, let's open the Applications tab. Go to Leave and click Apply. Once opened, set the day of the intended leave, the type of leave, the duration of the leave, whole day or half day, and the purpose of the leave. Once all set, click on Save. Wait for a few seconds, and you're done. Once applied and approved by the department heads, the employee will receive notifications by SMS and email showing that his or her leave has been approved.
How about when my employees rendered work outside our office? How does HRWorkz process these?
This situation is known as official business, and HRWorkz can accommodate these instances. Employees can apply for an official business by clicking Official Business under the Applications tab, after which click Apply. Set the needed details, the OB date, the time range, the purpose of the application, and the location. Once all set, click Save. Just like in leaves, all applications can be filed either by the employee and the manager, and will be notified by both SMS and email.
There are times when some employees fail to clock in or clock out due to emergencies or other factors. What can HRWorkz do with these cases?
HRWorkz can remind employees who forgot to clock in or clock out via their employee dashboard. Employees and managers alike can reapply for their former lost time in or time out. Using the employee portal, just open Failure to Clock In or Out under the Applications tab. Click Apply and fill in the date that you wish to apply. The type, whether you'll apply for just out or both in and out, the change you intend for your time in, and the change you intend for your time out. And lastly, the reason why you failed to key in your data. Once all set, click on Save. If you just want to alter an existing time in or time out of yours, you can edit via our alteration feature as well. To apply, click on Clock In or Out Alteration, still under the Applications tab, on the Employee portal. Click Apply, set the time, whether it's for time in only, time out only, or both. State the reason why you need to alter it. Finally, set the date that you wish to alter, and click Save. You will be notified via email or SMS if the employee's application has been approved or rejected.
Can HRWorkz allow applications to edit recorded attendance logs? How can I be sure that I pay the right amount for my employees?
HRWorkz isn't allowed to edit current attendance logs, but it can cater applications for proposed change schedules for employees. All changes are subject to approval from the management before it records both the original and proposed data. All employees are entitled to have this feature, especially those whose shift depends on the season's demands. To apply for a change schedule, just click it under the Applications tab. Click Apply, set the date that you wish to alter, determine the purpose of your change schedule. In her case, she'll have an event in the morning. Indicate the time range. Here, she'll be having her hours from 12 noon until 9 p.m. Click Save. Wait for a few moments, then you're all set.
Can HRWorkz automatically compute holiday rates? How about special non-working holidays and working on rest days?
As an administrator, you can set all the holidays and rates into your company calendar. The government has specific calculations when an employee works on holidays and rest days. HRWorkz can cater times when working on rest days as well. In order to validate an employee's change of schedule, let's go to the Work on Rest Day tab under Applications. Click Apply. Choose the date of the render and the purpose on why the employee needs to work for one additional day. Click Save once all set. Let's transfer to the admin portal and accept her application. Go to Timekeeping and click Work on Rest Day. Look for Commerce application and click Approve. From Schedules, let's now head over on how you could add holidays and change its scope, whether it's on a national or local effectivity. But how does HRWorkz add and set national and local holidays? Stay tuned on the next video to find out. That concludes our video regarding timekeeping concerns. On our next video, we will discuss about payroll, how to set and apply rates, and how HRWorkz calculates these rates for you. Work with ease with HRWorkz.